Will here from Webflow. I want to show you how on Webflow you can take your PNG box shadows and take them from this to this, which is much better looking. This is not what anybody wants. So in Webflow, if you just add a normal shadow to an element, it's going to add a box shadow, which is a shadow around the box of the element. Nice for most elements, but for PNGs where you have transparent background, not very nice. Now to add the drop shadow, we actually need to go and add some custom code, which if you don't know, when you add custom code on Webflow, it doesn't show up in the designer in real time as you do it. You have to publish it to see it, which becomes very inconvenient when you're trying to figure out the correct drop shadow to add. So I highly recommend actually going into Figma or any other design tool and design the drop shadow there first, and it will give you the CSS values that you want to bring in to the code into Webflow, and you'll have the shadow that you designed in Webflow right away. So let's go into Figma. Here I am, I'm in Figma. This is my design broken down. Here I have the element here and the element here. I'm in developer mode. I'm going to go back to designer mode. The way I work when I work with big websites like this one, this is going to be a huge website. I have standard shadows. So I have usually 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5. So shadow small, medium, and large, or shadow 1, 2, and 3. For these two, I'm going to add shadow 2, which is going to be shadow medium. So I have effects here, medium. Now I'm going to go into this fancy new Figma developer mode, and it gives me the style here, which is the box shadow. This is actually wrong. This is not a box shadow. It is a drop shadow. I don't know why Figma tells me it's a box shadow, but because it's wrong, I have to copy it, and I have to go into a tool like GPT to ask to translate this to a drop shadow. I can do it myself, but we have AI now, so why? I'm going to ask GPT-4. You can probably do this with GPT 3.5 as well. Can you make this filter drop shadow? Can you make this a filter drop shadow applied to the custom attribute data shadow 2 instead of a box shadow? And I give the box shadow code or CSS value that I've copied from Figma here. Go. And it gives me the solution here and explains a bunch of things about why the solution is the right one. It's pretty much telling you exactly the things I'm trying to tell you in this video. So you want to copy this code, and this is the code you're after. If it gives you a class and a bunch of code to add the class to an element, don't do it. This is the code you're after right here. It's pretty much your custom attribute here and this CSS value here. Copy it. I'm going to leave this code in the description as well. You can use it as a template. Go back into Webflow, and you now want to, first of all, to these elements, you want to add the custom attributes data shadow and 2, data shadow and 2, or whichever selector that you want. This is so that the Webflow code knows how to or knows which element to select and add the drop shadow to. And go back to your page code. In the header, I already have it here. Add these brackets, so style and / style. That'll tell the code that this is CSS styling, not HTML and not JavaScript code. And add that code in here, and it will add that drop shadow that we designed in Figma to every element that has data shadow 2 as a custom attribute. Now I'm going to publish, and if I go here, refresh my page, boom, now my shadows are much prettier. This is what we want when we add shadows to PNG images, obviously. That's how you do it. Follow me for more Webflow tips.